Hello and welcome to our 16th episode of the unofficial SAP on Azure video podcast. Today is November 6th, and together with Robert and Goran, we are here to talk about anything related to SAP on Azure. Hello, everyone.
Hi.
So in our episode, this is going back and forth. We again have Ralf in our podcast. So I'm really looking forward to him talking about Azure NetApp files. We obviously last week we already talked about the backup. So this week we'll talk about restore. And as promised, he has a small surprise for us. So I'm looking forward to this as well. But before we go there, let's quickly take a look at some of the news from last week. And I think just the other day there was this announcement that the SAP Cloud Platform Trial is now extended to 365 days. So, which means in the past, or like before, you could only have the SAP Cloud Platform Trial for, I think, 90 days. But now you can really have it for a full year. You have to go there every month or something like that and extend it. But still, I think actually this is really good news. I mean, on Twitter and some other social media, there were some discussions that this is a step in the right direction, and I agree. But for me, still, this is a huge improvement over what we had so far. Especially if I look at my own usage of the trial account, it was a little annoying to recreate everything after 90 days. So now hopefully we can use it for a little longer than this. So there was this announcement on Twitter, but what I also found actually for the first time was this SAP Developer News, which apparently is a YouTube channel from SAP, where they also talk about the trial, for example, but where they also provide other updates from other colleagues. So you can see Thomas Grassel talking about some of the things, Maximilian Steigleiter talking about this, then DJ Adams and others. So I think it's Vitaly, I think, is back here as well. So I think it's nice to see the developer advocate team at SAP to also provide here this developer news. And it's fairly short, so it's only like 5 minutes or so, not an hour long like our podcast, but I think it's a very crisp summary of some of the things that are going on in the developer ecosphere of SAP. Then you might know the Coffee Corner Radio, and they have always some really interesting talks there. I think last year, the week before, there was this Young Talents, an episode where they talked with DJ Adams and Christian Drum about young talents in the SAP ecosphere. And there's almost already a tradition, I think, that Martin Fischer from Bridging IT has a quarterly discussion with Holger Müller from Constellation Research. And I especially like these episodes because you really get some interesting insights from Constellation Research, from Fischer, who's obviously a partner who's very much involved in the whole SAP environment. So this is really something that I very much look forward. And now they just released it. So I think this is also definitely worth listening. Or there's, I think, also a YouTube video from Constellation Research that you can also watch if you like. Then one final thing from my side. So you might know that I actually really like abapGit. So this possibility client that allows you to save ABAP developments in a Git repository, which you then can obviously use for potential agile development. We at Microsoft are also using it in some scenarios. So you might know the ABAP SDK for Azure, which is also built using abapGit. It's also available in one of the GitHub repositories where you can then use abapGit to deploy the ABAP SDK for Azure in your ABAP environment. And in this blog, Lars talks about CTS and how CTS and abapGit work together, where basically, well, you have to really differentiate between software development and software delivery, and where he then goes into some thoughts on how would you position this, and where is abapGit really useful, and where is CTS very, very useful. And basically, one thing that I liked was this year, during my last 15 years CTS for ABAP development, I don't recall having experienced any bugs in CTS. So this is really this very solid foundation which has been there for SAP for a very, very long time, which is really good when it comes to transporting your developments from your dev QA and prod environment. And I think he has some really good ideas or thoughts when it comes to, well, how does abapGit and CTS relate, and how do they work together? So I think it's definitely worth reading his blog post here. Good, then we have one more topic. Goran, I think you brought this up, which I think is also really interesting. Maybe you can spend a few words on this.
I mean, there is, I have an echo. Weird. Okay. There is a colleague of us, Kartik, who wrote this blog. I mean, interesting blog on auto-scaling of the application server. So it's always a kind of interesting, always demand a topic fitting to the cloud perfectly, because again, you can always scale in and out or up and down. So I haven't tried by myself yet, but it's really kind of interesting. Is describe how through the SMON, how different metrics are collected on the utilization of the SAP processes and users, and basically how through the triggers you can instantiate certain action, like for example starting and stopping of application server, joining, at least here described to the so here, exactly. Here's the example on how many work processes are there, and RFC and dialog, and how many users basically. And based on those kind of trigger, you can, let's say, decide to either scale out or scale in, meaning stop the app servers, remove from the logon group. At least I think he's described or example is how to remove from the user logon group, stop the VM, stop in a soft shutdown manner, and starting in another way out. Even I think there's an option to deploy it if desired. So haven't tried by myself yet, but I would say it looks interesting, right? As an idea. One critical part would be definitely okay, which metrics to use, how to do it. I think probably a next step would be, okay, how to handle also the users and user logon group is one story, but then you have also the batch processes, you have the RFC logon groups, and so on. So these are the old parts which needs to be kind of considered, inside the logic. But again, I think it's a nice block, a nice idea for try and just to see how it works basically and fulfill requirements. I would say it's a good starting point, definitely.
And I think the nice thing is he also published a lot of information here on GitHub, so you can take a look at this. You can easily try out what he described there. And then, like you said, when it comes especially to the metrics, well, you can play around with this. You can see what's working best in your specific scenario.
Yeah.
Cool, great. So I think that was quick, but I think with this we can actually come to the more interesting stuff, or the even more interesting stuff. And with this, Ralf,
Actually, it's a two topic.
It's a two topic.
So one is how to use the ANF to restore the stuff,
Exactly.
But the second one, how to use the NFET instead of the barbecue, right?
Now, for other way around. So we start with that barbecue, of course, because everyone is looking forward to this. We talked since 2 weeks now only for the barbecue recipe, and I prepared a little presentation, of course. I promised it last time. Yeah, so Lasse's special curry. So, and for all the folks here on the network, if you don't like cooking, if you're not interested in this, I need probably 4 minutes of explaining how to make this. And please forward if you are not interested into it. Otherwise, I think that recipe from Lasse, actually, it's not from Lasse, it's from Jamie Oliver, but Lasse cook here in our Waterpolo team. So therefore, that gets
wait, Ralf. Waterpolo. So I know, but I think most of the audience don't know. What do you mean with Waterpolo? What's so interesting? Why is this? Why did you mention this right now?
Oh no, yeah, I'm part of the best German masters Waterpolo team. Yeah, and so we all come from Berlin, so we spent our entire youth together playing water polo professionally, of course, and now we still play big tournaments like World Championships and Europe Championships, and usually there are 3 guys in our team who are cooking. So it's Lasse, it's Luis, and it's myself. So and basically when we are on the road in all different countries in the world, so the 3 of us, we are mainly making sure that the team has enough to eat.
So just to recap, you're a world-class water polo player. You're really good when it comes to cooking, and you know a little bit about Azure NetApp files.
Exactly. So,
wow.
Yeah, that's basically it is. So I have not many more talents. So that's all.
Okay, so now over to you.
Yeah, exactly. So for those guys who are wondering why there's for a strange background here behind me, this is the Antelope Canyon. So when you visit Las Vegas and you like to drive 4 hours north, then you are in the Antelope Canyon. I think that is fabulous. It's amazing, and especially around noon. So you see this nice background. Yeah, let's just drive into it. As said, so I prepared something a little bit here in the background. And as I mentioned, for those who are not interested in cooking, please forward the next 4 minutes. But nevertheless, here, this is my friend Lasse, and this is Lasse's lamb, beef, or curry, depending what you like more. You can do this with lamb meat or with beef, and it's really an amazing recipe. So this is basically how it looks like. In the end, when it's finished. So these are the ingredients. Of course, you can stop the video and write everything up, or buy this Jamie Oliver book, the Cooking for Friends. This is basically where we got this recipe from. And it's really amazing. It's unbelievable. It is really unbelievable. So first of all, you have some preparation to do. So you have some seeds. You need to cook a little bit. So that means without oil, simply in the pan and heat them up all together. Heat them up. Then in the meanwhile, you also cut the meat in cubes. Once you have done this, put everything aside, of course. So very important here for those seeds. Heat them really up until they smell nicely, and then you need to grain them. I will show this also later how that looks. As a second preparation, cut the meat in cubes. Then cut all the cilantro and the parsley also in small pieces. Put it aside. Then here, as mentioned, put all the seeds in the pan, cook it a little bit, and then grain it until it's really nicely small. And the smell of this is amazing. So once you smell this, you already lost. That's really perfect. Very, very, very nice. And make sure it's nicely hot. Don't overcook it, so that you until you get the nice smell out of the pan, and then immediately remove it and grind it. So what you then do for the curry itself, you need 10 pieces of garlic. So it's probably a lot, but you don't taste it anymore. After a while, then 2 big onions, some garlic, lemon, and also lime. Take those 2 cans of those tomato juice and cut it very small, like you see it here in the middle picture. And then take the dry marinade and basically mix it aside that the dry marinade gets into the curry. And also here, the smell, I can promise you, it is amazing, mind-blowing. It's really very, very nice. Then the important part comes, the cooking. So what I do, usually I have a Dutch oven, which is a kind of a steel pan, which goes on the barbecue. Make sure this, you heat it pretty nicely. And next to that Dutch oven, you see a little plunger where I prepare the meat. Take a little piece of butter, put it in the Dutch oven until it smelts. Then you cook the curry like you see on the right picture until it's really get nice and well done. And also what you need to boil it better is a liter or 1.5 liter of vegetable fond. That is very very important. And then put everything together. Let it boil for roughly 180 degrees on the barbecue for 1.5 hours. So that's until it's really done, and the smell again, it's mind blowing. It's really very nice. Until this is finished, then you need to prepare the meat. So put the meat on the plunger, cook it nicely, and put it also aside once it's finished. Yeah, and let the curry still on the barbecue for another hour, at least another hour, and then you need the lime juice. Put this lime juice and the lemon juice into the curry, and then let it boil for really an hour until it's get a little bit reduced the amount of curry in the pan. Then last but not least, let's say then after that hour where you let the curry boil on the oven, put the meat into the curry and let it another half an hour cook on the oven. Then when it's ready, take some cream, some sour cream, one cup of sour cream, put it under the curry, and you finish it up with some cilantro on the table, and very nice goes German Riesling white wine and some rice with it. So that was actually the curry recipe, and I wish you really a lot of fun when you cook this. So that is at least that part. That was a critical part. Over now to the Azure NetAppFiles topic.
Amazing. Thank you so much.
Recovery and cloning.
Yeah, that was powered by the ANF grill engine, right?
Exactly. Yeah, grill is an important thing. At least in our house, the grill, the barbecue has really a big spot, believe me. Yeah. So let me get my point already here. So yeah, let this part 3, recovering or cloning. I developed already a 4th part where we talk about a new feature that manual QS policy set up. So that's a very important topic as well for SAP customers. So, but if you have the chance or if there's a spot where you do not know who to invite, that would be another topic which I would like to address as well. Recovery and cloning. A little recap from the last time. Of course, when we talked about backup option, so which tool can we use to backup or create a consistency state in your SAP HANA system? For example, that ASIC Snap can be used, which also that presentation is basically based out of. Yeah, we have other options like Commvault. IntelliSnap is able from version 11.21 to be used with Azure NetApp Files. The ASIC backup can be used not for a consistency point in HANA, but you can, for example, take let's say a snapshot which was created by ASIC Snap and pull it off into the Azure backup construct. Then still customers are using the NFS backup, so the traditional HANA backup is also used. And then, as mentioned last time, there's also a GitHub script from NetApp available, which comes with no support, but also this tool creates an application consistent snapshot. But let's go back to that ASIC Snap, because this is our tool where also Microsoft is guaranteed the support for this. And another very important topic is this is free of charge. Yeah, the volume design, especially when we talk about backups or recoveries, then we need to see what are the interesting points which we need for a database recovery. So last but not least, the HANA shared or the user SAP volume, that is a more static volume, so you don't need to care about some consistency point in that directory or in that volume. You simply can create regular snapshots to this volume, and you are good to go. HANA data, this is actually the critical volume, because here is the content available, and this database volume, you need to create a consistency point before you take any snapshots or any backups. So this is also explained in the last session from last week how to do this. Then HANA log, and as mentioned, this is only for the forward recovery, because all the volumes, all the files in that volumes are open. So therefore, we do not have the chance to back up or to snapshot this folder. It does not really make sense because you cannot use all the data because it's open. Very important is another topic, though, the HANA log backup, because in that log backup here is also the catalog. Usually you should configure the HANA database backup catalog also to that log backup, and this volume is important for the roll forward. And last but not least, let's see, not for this presentation, because we based this here on snapshot-based backups. Yeah, so the data backup volume can be important once the customer is using still the traditional NFS backups. But those volumes are, let's say, the point of interest for the database backup, and also, of course, then the recovery. Yeah, as mentioned, the HANA database catalog. So that is another point. Without that catalog, you cannot do a roll forward from the database. So therefore, also configure the HANA catalog backup into the same volume where your log backups are, because that should be done here. So that should not be empty. That should be configured. So I did this on purpose to show that this is not right. So that always reminds me to talk about this. Yeah. So the catalog backup should be pointing to the same directory where you have your log backups. So that's important, because those two belong to each other. So I still don't know why why SAP did put this out of each other. So it should belong together. And because without catalog, as mentioned, there's no log backup available, roll forward available. Then another thing what is very important is the log backup timeout, because this 900 seconds, this are 15 minutes. So in the end of the day, HANA can keep log files in that log volume, and then after 15 minutes, those log volumes are backed up to the log backup volume. So my recommendation is to configure this or set this to 300. Then at least you have every 5 minutes the log backup. And when you talk about moving stuff to blob, which we discussed last time, then it's of course for smaller RPO, so the recovery point objective. So for a shorter RPO, you need more log files in your log backup. Because then you make sure that you do not have so much data loss in case of an DR. Yeah, that snapshot directory we also visited last week, also a little bit longer. So I keep this a little bit short because we need some more time here for the recovery process. Remember that snapshot directory is a hidden directory. So when you do an ls-la in that data volume directory, the snapshot directory is invisible. Only when you go into that snapshot directory here, what you see with cd.snapshot, you see also all the volumes here in that volume. Very important. Revert volume. So this is what we see then actually today. When you revert a younger snapshot, all the even more younger snapshots are deleted, because when you recover or do a snap revert on this older snapshot, that's snapshot 002, for example, and then all the younger snapshots are deleted. And that is very important, especially when you think about the recovery and you're saying, hey, let's use an old one first. So you always, especially the recovery point, should always start with the youngest snapshot, and then, if necessarily, then go to the older snapshots, but not the other way around, because then you would delete your younger snapshots. So I think this is also very, very important to understand. And what we also will see later in this presentation, maybe the better option is here restore to a new volume, because when you restore to a new volume, then you do not delete any of those snapshots. You simply create a new volume out of a snapshot, so that's called flex clone, this function. And with this, when you create a flex clone of an older snapshot, the newer snapshots are not deleted. So that's another very interesting point when we talk about restores, and we also will see this here later in this presentation as well.
And Ralf, how about those sizes of the volume when you create? I think you were telling me earlier sometimes that because it's flex volume, it's kind of based on a deltas. So do you have a full volume then, or it's just a kind of from a space perspective when you create a new volume, or it's a kind of in reality smaller size?
Go on. Good question. So the file view, let's say the logical view. So when you go into such a directory like here, when you go into this into the snapshot, you always see the full database view. So that means in that directory you always have the full what we will see this also later when we do the recovery. When you go into that directory, you see always the full picture, even though the actual space which is required for this database on the disk is of course far less, because you only let's say capture or need the new physical data blocks which are created on the storage here in the snapshot. That's also the big benefit. And what we usually calculate for a snapshot architecture at a customer, between 20 and 30% of snapshot capacity for the additional for those snapshots in the data volume. So you,
from the OS perspective, you should see the full size,
correct.
But
correct.
In reality, it would be on a physical smaller side, meaning you should pay, less. It's going to the cost optimization as well.
Absolutely. So when you see here 5 snapshots and you have a 10 terabyte database, your logical view is then 50 terabytes here in every snapshot, plus the 10 terabytes on your main storage. So you would see logically 60 terabyte, and this 60 terabyte comes down maybe to 11 or 12 terabytes physically on the disk space.
Right.
So that is the way how it works.
Good.
Thank you. Super. So then, as mentioned, always try to revert to new volume, or start the recovery from the newest snapshot, so the youngest snapshot, and do not immediately use the oldest snapshot, because then you have a much longer roll forward, of course, for the database. And also, you would delete all the younger snapshots. Very important. As mentioned, the Azure CLI. The Azure CLI is, I think, a very powerful tool to rightly to also, if you like to use the CLI and not the portal for some reasons, then you of course have all the tools in hand to list the snapshots, to recover snapshots, also create new volumes out of the snapshot. So we will all see this here in this presentation. So ASIC Snap, I mentioned this also last week. So this is the way how you configure ASIC Snap. It's pretty easy. You need to create a service principal for the Azure authentication that you are able to create snapshots and stuff with this. So that is the way how you do it. Then you create that ASIC Snap. You install that ASIC Snap on your system. That is another point, very important. You create a user store for the database user, because you need a database user to put the database in backup mode, or let's say, or create that HANA snapshot. The internal HANA snapshot, you need a backup user. So you create that user, and in this case here, I use system, but of course, a system that administrator user is not required for ASIC Snap to be used. So you can create your own user with your own let's say user rights and profiles to manage your snapshots as well. Then you configure, you create a configuration file. As mentioned, so you create a configuration file. You do this by calling that ASIC Snap -c configure, and with that configuration new, so you create a new configuration file where you have the SID, the system number, and the volumes and all information you basically require for creating snapshots. And once you test this configuration, you are able to create snapshots. So easy is that. Now the recovery process. As mentioned last time, we dive directly here in that recovery process and see how that works. As mentioned, the database catalog here is very, very important, because without that database or log backup catalog, you have no chance of a roll forward. Then when you lose your entire data volume, so everything with system tables, system database, with all your tenant databases, because they are usually stored here in one volume. If you lose this for some reason, then you need a tool from SAP that called recover.sys.py. With this tool, you basically recover your system database. This is really a very important tool which you need to use for recovering the system database. Once you can restore your system database, you go directly so you log onto the system database and you recover from there all your tenant databases. So this is the process how that works. A little example. But also very important here to see is another thing. With that ASIC Snap, you also can restore snapshots only for HLI. So for HANA large instances, this is possible. For Azure NetApp files, this is not yet possible. So we are a little bit careful here of enabling this feature. Yeah, so with this ASIC snap, you are able to restore or to do a snap revert for Azure NetApp, for HLI storage, but not for ANF. Very important to understand. So what happens? Yeah, so we stop the database because we lost the data volume. So this is how I did it. Yeah, I unmounted those data files. You also can remove them. Yeah, then we unmounted the data volume, and because it's broken or it's destroyed forever, so we unmount that the data volume. Then we are looking for the snapshot. So how many snapshots did we create? So in this sense here, we use the latest and the newest snapshot for this. This has that snapshot ID. That snapshot ID here is very important when you do the snap revert or when you create a new volume. So that snapshot ID is the internal reference either to do a snap revert or creating a new volume. So you can decide how is your recovery strategy. Number one, snap revert, or number two, and basically creating a new volume out of the snapshot. And that is usually I would always try to do option 2, because then you do not delete all the younger snapshot as we talked about or we spoke about before. And another big advantage, if you do number 2, so the recovery method number 2, then you also of course also do not destroy the actual volume where you have the issue with. So for example, if you have any issues which later on you would like to recover or restore or even get to know what was wrong, therefore you still keep the old volume available, and you will mount a new volume with this option. So you create an option out of the snapshot and then creating a new volume. So then what happens? Remember that file here, very important. You are mounting the data volume again. So with mount -a, you mount your new volume. After setting this up in the EDCFS tab, of course. So in the EDCFS tab, you should maybe one slide back. Of course you need to take that clone volume and mark this in the EDCFS tab, because this will be your new volume. So therefore you can do a permanent change in the FS tab, and remove the old data volume and here set up the new volume as a permanent data file location. Once you have done this, mount this new data volume, and remember last week we talked about that snapshot _ data backup file. This is your reference point for the restore of the database. And what you do then, basically you go into your SID, so the SAD ADM, so you change user SAD ADM, then you go into the Python support directory from your HANA database, and with Python, remember that recover this.python command, so recover database until timestamp, and here you see 2021. So I do a forward recovery until the latest logs are installed or imported into the database. So take any date here in the future, and that gives roll forward until the latest information, until the latest commit was done in your log file, because we didn't lose the log files. Remember, we only lost the data file. And when you do a roll forward here for the future, then you are sure that you have no data loss at all. And then using snapshot, that is also a very important information, because then HANA is exactly looking for this snapshot database file as a reference point.
And this recovery sys Python script is from SAP, or meaning HANA, right? So
exactly.
Classical
also,
stuff,
nothing what we do. No, this is all SAP. Remember that Python support is in that Python support directory. So under shared ANA, Excel, Linux, HDB, Python support. These are the location where you see and where you find all the SAP HANA special tools. Let's call it special tools. Then you do the roll forward until the last point, as mentioned, and then after depending now, how fast the storage system is, how fast the compute system is, suddenly you are finished, and you said, hey, I am finished, and then everything is fine. So recovery, data recovery finished successfully. Yeah, so these are basically the steps. I repeat this again. So after your database is broken for some, unmount the volume, unmount your volume. Decide on your recovery procedure. Number one is do a snap revert and overwrite the existing volume. Yeah, so this is what we do with snap revert, overwriting the existing data. Yeah, or option two is creating a new volume out of your snapshot, and from there you go for then the roll forward. So my recommendation here would of course be number two. Then after you modified your etc fs tab, yeah, where you put in the new location of your new data file, you mount the new data file and go into that Python support and run that recovery database. So that are the steps on the manual steps we need to do. Then after your data file is your SystemDB is recovered, yeah, you go into the database, yeah, for example, HTTP SQL --u system, then you log in as system into your system database, and from here you also start the almost exact command. Yeah, so recover betas for ANA. So now you only specify here that tenant you would like to recover. So recover database for ANA until, and then also the time in the future, and also using snapshot. And then, of course, HANA restores the system table space, the tenant database, and then you are finished. Pretty easy process. Of course, we do the same now on the graphical way, so from the portal. So we do exactly the same, now just in a different way. We use the CLI for the recovery. Now we do the same here for the portal. As mentioned, here we now need to decide which recovery strategy we will follow. So the restore to the new volume or revert volume, both is possible. As mentioned, the more secure way is then the restore to a new volume. Yeah, but for this sense, we explain here that revert volume, both works. Now, then you get a question, security question. Are you really would like to revert your snapshot? Be sure you overwrite the existing data in that volume. Yeah, of course, we know what we would like to do. Yes, we would like to do this. So we overwrite now the existing data in that volume. Yeah, that's what we want. And that really it's very fast. So after a few seconds, you get a OK message from the portal, and then your database is recovered. Afterwards, remember, after the step has been taken, yeah, then you need to mount the data volume again on the system. So same procedure as we have done before. Then you go into the HANA Studio, yeah, go to your backup and recovery portion from your database, and do a recover system database. Then you need to log into the system. And now, in the end of the day, yeah, all the exact same mechanisms are running in the backend. So when you check your procedures or your process is running, you also will see that system that recover sys.python in the end. And so even though you use here the graphical tool, the same tool will get called here from that process as well. So, but nevertheless, so recover the data until its most recent state. So this is the same as we done. What we declined was at 2021. So to the most recent state. Then HANA, the backup process, looks into the folder, and he sees that snapshot database backup. As mentioned, this is your recovery point. This is why you see here that green bubble in your studio. Yeah, then again specify the log backups. Yeah, you will see check the delta backups system, file system, say next, finished, and the system database is recovered. Yeah, so and as mentioned in the backend, he's calling the same file, so that the system recovery.python. After you have done this, after the system database is restored, you recover the tenant database. So same what we have done on the command line, so that same works here as well. So from the portal, you go to the recover tenant database. You mark which database you would like to recover, and then recover the database until the most recent state. Yeah, this is what you like, of course. You specify again here also the same. So your log backup location, and also again for a tenant database as well. You see here that snapshot folder. Yeah, then log backups, same what we have done before, and you are basically kicking off that process as well. So nothing is basically the same what we have done on the command line, only here now with a graphical handling. That is done. That is the recovery part. Go on, or any questions, or do we need to jump?
No, actually, I do have a question.
Yes.
What do you see with customers? Are they more using the CLI or are they more using the GUI? Because
both. I think both. So everything works the same way. So you have customers which like CLI more, the other ones like graphical more. I think CLI is much faster, really much faster than as the graphical tool. But if you because you don't do this every day. And
yeah,
that's the point. Yeah. So if you don't do this every day, I personally think that a graphical user interface is easier to use and easier to consume than that command line. So therefore, I think probably maybe the GUI is more used for recovery purposes. Yeah. So even though the command line works perfectly and as mentioned, much faster. It's a matter of taste, what you like, and how much how good you are trained. Let's put it this way. So you also do not play world championships if you practice only once a week. So therefore, that's actually the same. So both will be used in the same way.
Perfect. Okay.
Yeah. So my scenario here on my system, I have two systems. I have my ANA system and I have my well-known C11. Yeah, every system has its own data and log file, and I would like now my ANA system to be restored or cloned into the C11. Yeah, so what we see then, my ANA system, I create a clone from the data volume. Yeah, and for the data volume, usually you do not need a roll forward at all, because when you do a clone, you don't care if this data from the target system is now an hour old, or you do not have all the data in your clone. So on 99.998%, I think there's no roll forward required for this. So this is also the reason why I show this here. And what I simply do, I unmount the C11 data, create a clone out of my snapshot, which I have taken on my ANA database. Yeah, so I create a clone out of a snapshot, mount this clone on my C11, and start a data recovery process. So basically nothing different than what we have done before. Besides, it's a little bit different, but not so totally crazy. So same process. So I have my snapshot, so I list my snapshots. I create a volume, and here remember that snapshot ID. Yeah, so I got my snapshot ID out of that snapshot list information. Yeah, so this is pretty easy to see, and we need this snapshot ID to create a new volume here in the sense Ralf ANF clone 01. So I create my clone volume out of that snapshot ID. Now then I do basically exactly the same. So I install HANA on my C11. So if you already have done this, then of course you do not have to install it. So if C11 is an old QAS system, then of course you do not have to install a new HANA system. So that is not required at all. So, but in this sense, I only show how to do this. So forget this if you already have that C11 installed. So then we shut down the HANA on the C11 system. So ANA is totally untouched. We do nothing with ANA. This is normal operation. Of course, you would not shut down your production system because you would like to clone a system to your QS system. So we do not touch ANA at all. We only touch C11 because that will be the target where we store or where we restore then the database. So as mentioned, we log into that C11 ADM. We shut down the C11 system. I unmount my old data volume because I don't need this anymore. And as you see here, I mount my cloned volume to my actual data volume. Yeah, so that is my cloned volume, and that is from ANA, and I mount that clone from ANA now into C11 MNT001. So this will be my new data volume, and I then of course afterwards can destroy the old data volume from the old C11. Yeah, of course. Yeah, what I then I change the user rights on my data volume. So do not do this for the entire HANA because that will create a mess. But only change because they came from ANA ADM, as root. So go there and change that all the files here in your data volume for the new SID. Very important. Yeah, then you do exactly the same as for the recovery. So you go into the Python support directory, and now it's a little bit different. You call that Python recover this command, recover data, and not recover database anymore. So recover data using snapshot and say clear log. With using snapshot clear log, we do not apply any log files because of course this is not what we want. And then we also reset or recreate that log area. And then after a while, until once this database is recovered, comes back with recovered database finished successfully. That is our positive message. Then we recover the tenant database. So also here you do not have to worry about the SID, so the old SID in that volume, because you log in as system in your system database, and then you call almost exactly the same command as we have done before. So you call recover data for C11. And while you specify that C11, HANA automatically is changing that information from ANA to C11 for you. And the same here using snapshot clear log. And once this is finished, you already have created here your clone system, and afterwards you can destroy and delete here the C11 if you like. Same process works exactly the way here from the portal. In this case, we do not do a snap revert. So now I show how that restore to new volume works. You go here and pick any of those snapshots from your database. Pick any, doesn't matter which one, and say restore to new volume. Then the process gets kicked off and say, hey, what should be the new name, and how big should it be, and whatsoever. Then you create here that the NFS version, specify the export policy, and then that volume gets created, and it's immediately online. Now it comes, of course, from the operating systems, you still have to unmount the old one and mount the new clone to your data file location. And of course also change the access rights or the user rights for the data path, that you do not get any issues during the restore. And then the same process starts again. So backup, restore system database, log into the system. So it's a recover database to a specific data backup. This is now different than to its most recent state, because we do not want the most recent state. We tell HANA, hey, to a specific data backup, because we do not want to do a roll forward. Then we say, okay, recovering without backup catalog. This is exactly what we want. So we do not like that backup catalog. And then we need to specify here that comes from a snapshot. So destination type is snapshot. And then we also need to mark initialize log area. This is what we want. And then we say finish. Once a while, then this is done. So now we have, let's say, restored the system database for C11 out of that old ANA system database. Now, same process for the tenant database. So you go again from backup recovery, recover tenant database, specify the C11, recover the database from a specific data backup. So same for the system database. Recover without backup catalog. That's exactly what we want. Tell also that it was done from a snapshot. Also here we initialize the log area, press finish, and we are done. Of course, this recover can take a while, or that restore can take a while, because he now has maybe to really touch the database and create a lot of stuff. And afterwards, you finished the recovery, and your database is up and running, and your system is online. That is basically very simple. I think a simple process how we can deal with this. Yeah, and by this, that was the story for today.
Ralf, quick question. So how, especially when it comes to this cloning, how fast would you say is this process? Do you have any?
Regardless of the size. So as the recovery process, when you click that restore tenant database, and then he has to deal with a lot of things and change a lot of parameters from ANA to C11. But first of all, it's all online, so you do not have to touch any of your ANA database at all. So, and you have seen this. Usually when you do cloning and you need to load data from an NFS backup or from a blob storage, that can take hours. That creating a volume out of a snapshot, regardless of the size, is done in 20 seconds. And after 20 seconds, so what he's doing in the background, he is copying data, of course, still from the old to the new volume. But this volume is still immediately online. And that is the cool stuff. So therefore,
and snapshot is also fast, right?
Snapshot is fast, exactly, and the restore is as fast as the backup, the snapshot. Yeah, so that and if you have a 10 terabyte database, it takes that copy process takes maybe 20 seconds, maybe 40 seconds, but we do not talk about a lot of time. So this it's easy. It's very easy, very quick. Yeah, then as I said, depending on what you like, CLI or a graphical user interface. It's a little bit slower, but it's perfect. It's quick,
but I think especially for the cloning, let's say I do want to have regular updates of my system. So I want to clone my system regularly to always have the latest data, I don't know, from my production or in my QA environment. Then I can script this.
Every Friday. It doesn't matter. Yeah, you can do this every Friday. You can automate this. You have seen this.
Yeah.
You can use that Azure CLI to get your latest snapshot and or maybe your daily snapshot. When you say, hey, I create a daily snapshot, what we have seen last time, and you would like to base your snapshot on your daily backup from Friday. It's a simple, easy process of cloning this to that Friday snapshot.
So basically, from subsystem perspective, we are going into scenarios system copy and system refresh. Let's say refresh the dev test system from the prod system, for example.
Exactly.
So,
exactly.
I mean, okay, there is a way how to script it also, but then come to my mind Llama, right? As in also integration.
Yeah, absolutely, yes. That's another option. Llama, if a customer uses Llama, or another tool we work very closely with LNW Soft. That PMS, and with those tools, Llama or PMS, or a combination of Llama and PMS, you can easily automate those stuff, and it's
Is there a
very good option
in ANF from Llama or something like that?
PMS or LNW Soft, they already did since half a year, at least half a year. They're working closely on Azure NetAppFiles.
Cool.
Yeah, so that is automated end to end, and that's pretty impressive how that can be automated and deal. It's very nice, absolutely.
Cool.
Great, cool. So my fear in the beginning was that we will only have 3 parts with you, but you already mentioned there might be a part 4.
Depending what you like.
I'm sure we'll find something, but I'm really looking already forward to having you back to talk about the part 4 of Azure NetApp Files.
Super.
So far, I think, thank you very much. I think now we have a beautiful series, part 1, 2, 3, about Azure NetApp Files. So giving you a good overview of what you can do with Azure NetApp Files. Yeah, with this, I don't know, are there any other questions? Otherwise, I would say, Ralf, thank you very much. Have a nice weekend. And
okay, same to you.
Talk to you soon.
Yes, bye-bye. Thank you for listening. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.